Welcome. I'm Viola Gonzalez, President of the League of Women Voters here in Oakland. Thank you for joining us to meet the candidates who are running for mayor. This forum is being made available with Spanish, Cantonese, and Vietnamese interpreters. Welcome to Andrea Rocha, Hernan Lafitte, Wei Kun Tong, Harvey Tai, Priscilla Yip, and Tiffany Tong, who are helping us interpret. We'll take a minute for the Spanish, Cantonese, and Vietnamese interpreters to give participants instructions in each language so they can access the correct Zoom channel, and each of them will tell me when they're done. Go ahead.
Para accesar la interpretación al español, a la brevedad posible van a ver un icono del globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla y ahí puede elegir el cuarto de español. Muchas gracias.
大家好，今晚嘅呢個係奧倫市嘅市長嘅論壇啦，咁咧將會提供多種語言嘅口譯嘅服務嘅，咁咧一陣間咧我會同呢個同事咧一齊咧幫忙大家，咁咧就如果你需要用呢個廣東話嘅口譯服務咧，請你喺呢個熒幕底部咧揾到一個地球圖標啦，點擊一下咧揀呢個語言翻譯，然後選取咧呢個應該係 Chinese 啊，咁咧就可以聽到我哋嘅服務。如果你係用呢個智能手機或者係呢個平板電腦啦，可能見到係3個逗點，道理係一樣嘅。請你揀語言翻譯咧，然後咧係揀呢個係Chinese 中文嘅。Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Xin chào quý vị. Chúng tôi cung ứng dịch vụ thông dịch trực tiếp sang tiếng Việt cho cuộc họp này. Nếu quý vị muốn nghe nội dung cuộc họp bằng tiếng Việt qua máy điện toán, xin hãy nhấp chuột vào nút Interpretation thông dịch ở phía dưới màn hình Zoom góc bên phải. Quý vị sẽ thấy một biểu tượng hình quả cầu và chọn Vietnamese. Một lần nữa để nghe thông dịch bằng tiếng Việt, xin hãy chọn Vietnamese. Nếu quý vị tham gia cuộc họp thông qua ứng dụng Zoom dành cho điện thoại thông minh, smartphone, xin hãy chọn ngôn ngữ của quý vị bằng cách chạm vào chữ More hoặc 3 dấu chấm ở dưới màn hình góc bên phải, chọn Language Interpretation, thông dịch sang ngôn ngữ khác, rồi chọn Vietnamese và chạm vào chữ Done, có nghĩa là xong rồi. Nếu quý vị chỉ muốn nghe thông dịch viên thôi và không muốn nghe tiếng của người phát biểu, xin hãy nhớ nhấp chuột vào Mute Original Audio, có nghĩa là tắt âm thanh gốc. Tất cả mọi người cần phải chọn một ngôn ngữ, đừng ở chế độ off và Zoom đã chọn sẵn cho quý vị. Cảm ơn quý vị. Back to you, Harvey.
Thank you. Tonight, the League of Women Voters Oakland is proud to present this program in partnership with UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital Oakland. Thanks to the generous support of UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital in Oakland, this forum is being made available in Spanish, Cantonese, and Vietnamese interpretation. Additional sponsors of the 5 Chambers One Oakland Coalition, whose members are the Oakland Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, Oakland Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, the Oakland Latino Chamber of Commerce, and the Oakland Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce. And in this effort, I especially thank Francisca Vega, Vice Chancellor of Community and Government Relations at UCSF, and Barbara Leslie, CEO and President of the Metropolitan Chamber, for their leadership and support. There is much in our national news about the midterms, but here in Oakland, the office of the mayor is of critical importance in our daily lives. The mayor, elected for a 4-year term, cannot serve more than 2 terms. The mayor appoints the city administrator, an employee who is responsible to run city services, police, fire, parks, city streets, recreation centers, libraries. The mayor recommends programs, laws, and a budget to the city council and nominates residents to the many commissions that provide oversight to important services. So you can make informed choices. The League applies a few simple rules to ensure that you get balanced information and all the candidates are heard equally. The League always seeks ways to give the community a voice, so the audience was invited to send questions in advance. Those questions have been sorted by a team of League leaders. However, the candidates do not get the questions in advance. I'm very pleased to introduce our moderator who is going to run this program this evening, Helen Hutchinson, past president and current board member of the League of Women Voters of California and respected leader in our community. She'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola. I'm going to start by reminding everybody of a few key ground rules. For each question, the candidates will each have 1 minute to answer. There will be 2 rounds of questions. The first 2 questions will go to all candidates, and then the rest of the questions will each be posed to 3 candidates. All candidates will have the opportunity to weigh in on questions not posed to them, but only 3 times during the forum. The order of the candidates has been chosen randomly. To keep the discussion flowing, candidates will be expected to keep answers to 1 minute. There will be a timer and that can be seen by all. And I, as a moderator, I may have to cut them off if they run over their time. And as I said earlier, you may finish a sentence, but please do it quickly. So welcome to the 10 candidates, and thank you all for participating. So we're going to start right in with the first question. And the first question is going to go first to Ms. Reed and then to Mr. Scott. People are distrustful of government at all levels. What would you do to restore trust and faith in public office officials and in the power of city government to deliver services and improve quality of life? Ms. Reed. I am not hearing you, Ms. Reed. Is your microphone, I heard you earlier.
She's in the wrong audio channel, hold on.
Thanks, so we need to start the timer again. Ms. Reed, we're not hearing you, and Matt is trying to fix that. So we'll stop for just a minute. Okay, so Ms. Reed is asking me to restate the question, and I certainly can do that. People are distrustful of government at all levels. What would you do?
Helen, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
I was muted. Sorry about that. I did mute. Thank you. People are distrustful of government at all levels. What would you do to restore trust and faith in public officials and in the power of city government to deliver services and improve quality of life? Do we have Ms. Reed on the right channel now?
Ms. Reed, if you can hear me, I think you need to change it yourself. You should be able to do it by clicking the interpretation button in the bottom of your screen. And click original audio.
Okay. Ms. Reed, can we hear you now? Can you try? No. Okay, so I'm going to move on and we'll go to Mr. Scott and then Mr. Ryman.
Hello, I'm assuming everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, start the timer. So yes, I agree. There's a reason there's a lot of mistrust, and it's one of the reasons I'm running. There is no accountability or accessibility in Oakland City Hall. When's the last time you saw Libby show up or vote on anything in the past few years? And it's by design. Oakland has a hybrid system of government that leaves no clear delineation of power because city council votes on everything and the mayor has the power over the hire and fire. So I have an accountable Oakland plan to clear up the confusion and let the mayor be directly accountable for running the city like other major cities are. That includes line item veto as well as legislative veto for the mayor. I'm the only person running on that. And there's a very important reason for that. And it's all about accountability. The last I'll add is that we need an independent office of a controller. We don't have that now to bolster the city auditor's office and get more fiscal and fiduciary
Thank you.
accountability in our city.
I can't.
I'm sorry, then moving to Mr. Ryman, then Mr. Liu. I'm good.
There are no technical fixes or fiddling around with this or that way of electing people that will change this. The reason that people are distrustful of government at all levels is that in an era when workers have increasingly come under economic attack by the corporations, all the political candidates represent big business. And you can see that here in Oakland, that they all represent the real estate speculators who are massively gentrifying Oakland. So what needs to be done is we need working class candidates such as myself, and we need a working class political party that will actually help workers organize and represent workers at all levels. That is the only way that the distrust is legitimate, because the government represents big business, and we need working class representatives to change that.
Thank you, Mr. Ryman. Mr. Liu, followed by Ms. Victory.
Yeah, I can't depend on the government to protect me, because I call 911 and it could be a 30-minute call and there would be no answer. So I would have a concealed carry, have the new police chief issue concealed carry permits to the rest of the populace for $50 for a lifetime permit, and it will apply to any residential in California who wants to come here and get a concealed carry permit, and they would get it with a clean background, 10 years, no felony. And also, I would like to turn all sizable parks in Oakland into unique themed attractions. This would bring tourism and would allow jobs to locals. So we're talking about like giant water slide at the lake, zip lines, tree houses, bounce houses, horsey rides. That would take care of the stress of the locals once they have a lot of fun right here for kids to do. All right, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Victory, followed by Mr. Hodge.
Good evening, everybody. Elisa Victory Villanueva. I am number 7 on your ballot. To improve the public's trust and faith in our government and that we will get things done for them, I want to expand our access to our government, our transparency about how we're spending, about how we're progressing on the plans that I am running on. I have a very clear platform, and we'll be releasing a further 100-day plan so that the public can hold me accountable to what I am promising to do and to serve. I'm committed to attend more council meetings, right? Council meetings do not include the mayor, who's not a member of the council, but the mayor can attend more, have more reports, more transparency, provide that access even to the rest of our elected officials so that they understand how things are working or how they're not, and how everyone can do their jobs better to serve our residents. I'm also running on moral and participatory budgeting, meaning that I want our residents to have more of a stake in how we are actually spending our dollars, how we're even budgeting them at the outset. I want to have more public town halls and come to meet you all where you're at and not expect you all to come find me at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. Hodge, followed by Mr. De La Fuente.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. Barbara Jordan said that a government is invigorated when each of us is willing to participate in shaping the nation, and that applies to Oakland. When elected mayor, I plan to listen more deeply to Oakland's voters, to lift up the best ideas, and then to lead with a laser-like focus on the issues that face us: public safety, a range of housing issues, and otherwise. To be a community leader means to rebuild the Oakland that we deserve. And a leader who rebuilds that Oakland is not a leader for East Oakland, is not a leader for West Oakland, is not a leader for the hills and above 580. It's actually a leader who is about one Oakland. Transparency and accountability matter in the budgeting process as well. And so I'll do my best, lead by listening, but lead by lifting up good ideas and the such.
Thank you. Mr. De La Fuente, followed by Mr. Taylor.
Thank you very much for the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to speak to the voters, really. What I will do is, what I believe is, I kind of set up a reputation of being a person that really want to provide access. I was one of the council members that promoted and passed the Equal Access Ordinance in Oakland. And the purpose of that ordinance was to allow our very diverse community that English is not the first language to be able to participate. So to me, that's including, that's providing an opportunity for people, the citizens, to participate. Secondly, I believe that I'm one of those individuals that like to take responsibility for what I do. So I will have a very, very transparent government. I want people to know the decisions that are made by the mayor. The mayor is the highest ranking elected official in the city, has the responsibility to communicate with the voters. Open City Hall will be my first order of business, because Oakland is I think is one of the few cities the City Hall is still not totally open. So
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're muted.
Hello.
Has Mr. Jordan joined us? Then Mr. Taylor, followed by Ms. Dow.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Lauren Taylor. I'm the council member representing District 6 in Oakland City Hall for the past 4 years. At my core, I'm a kid from Oakland, born and raised here, a product of this incredible town, who could no longer stand by and watch as my city was headed the wrong direction. And I knew that I could do something about it. And so when we talk about trust, that is a primary focus of mine. My first piece of legislation was to require that the city of Oakland establish a performance management system, a system that ensures full transparency and accountability, something I've successfully put in place in large corporations and nonprofits here in the Bay Area and across the globe. By the end of my first quarter in office, every department will publish its first quarterly dashboard that clearly lays out its goals, how they're prioritized, the milestones that are planned to get to those goals, and the status of how we're doing against that. That level of transparency is foundational to building trust, ensuring actionable progress, and I, as mayor, will be accessible, in regular contact, and fully accountable to you. I will then hold accountable the departments, and we will make sure that we make progress on those things that are prioritized.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tao. And then we'll see, we have 2 other candidates I'm looking for, so. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me today. I am Council President Pro Tem Sheng Tao. Absolutely, we must rebuild trust and faith in government through working in and investing directly into community. And I will appoint a city administrator who will be hands-on and work within the community in partnership with directors, because that's how we solve the problems that are on the ground, is if we're part of understanding what the issues are. Also, have accountability standards and metrics for all departments, including funding that leave City Hall to ensure that those dollars are working for Oakland residents. It disheartens me that under the current administration, we saw $70 million was not accounted for that went out for our unhoused population. We need to also ensure that OAK 301 actually works. So we must fill the vacancies. There are 25 to 40% of vacancies in all departments. And as mayor, I will be very intentional about making that my priority so that our residents and businesses are receiving timely services. And around delivering services, experience matters, and I have 10 years of consecutive years of experience at City Hall, so I know how to handle the bureaucracy.
Thank you very much. Ms. Reed, I see you back. Are you ready to answer the question? You have to. No, you're still muted. It didn't work. Matt, can you work with Ms. Reed on that?
I'm trying to.
Yeah. I'm sorry. And has Mr. Jordan joined us? No. Okay. Ms. Reed, we're going to give you a bye on this one. And no, we can't hear you. Sorry. I can read your lips on that one. I'm going to move to the second question, and we'll try to get back to Ms. Reed. And this next question is going to start with Mr. Hodge. The second question is about public safety. Public safety is an issue throughout the city. What plans do you have to address this? Mr. Hodge, followed by Mr. De La Fuente.
In my estimation, it is the key issue in the city, second only to housing affordability. We're going to craft a comprehensive approach that reimagines public safety. We make us safe. No one and anyone who says that they can make us safe by having more police officers alone is not right. Can make us safe by only prevention services. So the three things that I would do would fully fund the city's Department of Violence Prevention, an effort that has taken on life, but has not necessarily upheld the promise. In Richmond, I was actually one of the architects of the Richmond Office of Neighborhood Safety. We were actually able to bring safety homicides down by 70%. Number two, I would add 700 full-time police officers with a focus on solving the most serious crimes and take them off of the non-emergency matters. And then lastly, reestablish the Office of Community Beautification and do whatever we can do to mitigate illegal dumping and blight.
Thank you. Mr. De La Fuente, followed by Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Absolutely my first priority. Actually, that's the only reason why I'm coming back and running after 10 years of leaving City Hall. I believe that the mayor of the city has to set the tone. Right now, Oakland is one of those cities that everybody thinks that they can come and do whatever they want to do in Oakland. We're the dumping ground of the entire East Bay. Look at our trash. Look at the issues that happen. Look at the shootings every single day. Car breaks in. So first, the mayor has to set the tone that will not be tolerated. Number two, hire additional police officers that prioritize. We know that Oakland doesn't have unlimited resources, so we have to prioritize. Hire police officers, give them the tools that the city council has denied them so far, technology tools to do a better job and maximize the resources. And number three, the political support that they need to actually perform their jobs. Right now, even officers are not willing to even respond to some of those calls because of the way that the city, I believe, don't support them in doing their job. So to me, it's a priority.
Thank you very much. Mr. Taylor, followed by Ms. Tao.
Thank you. As a Black man growing up in this city, I understand the challenges of both over-policing and under-policing. I have had family members that are deeply impacted by the criminal justice system and helping them reestablish their lives from there. In an emergency, our well-being is in the hands of people that we have never met before, but whom we must immediately trust to provide the care that we need. The relationship between our police officers, the public, must include accountability and trust at all times. And whether it's ensuring that the public safety resources are distributed equitably throughout the city, working to improve the relationships between officers in the community, or making sure we reach you quickly, that is our priority. We also have to make sure that Oaklanders are safe above all else. And that means we have to increase staffing levels to ensure adequate and timely response. I believe 800 officers should be the target. We have to double investments into effective violence prevention programs, solving twice as many violent crimes as we currently have, and increasing mental health resources for members of our community.
You're muted.
Muted again, Ms. Hutchinson.
I don't know how I'm muting myself here. I'm sorry. So we had Mr. Taylor, so Ms. Tao, and then I'm hoping that we can get Ms. Reed on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this question. I'm really proud to understand the budget well enough that when we pass a budget, we can always come back to amend it. And so under the budget that I was the only council member who's actually running for mayor to have voted for it, is that we voted for $18 million into violence prevention and violence interrupters. And that is something that we know works, because we not only need to invest in prevention, but yes, also the response. And because of that, I've been able to work with the police chief, and not just that, but the city administrator, to bring back to make sure we fill the vacancies in OPD, which we have already funded 752 positions. that we passed the 5th, 6th, and 7th Police Academy. On top of that, we were hemorrhaging officers. And so for the first time ever in decades, which the chief has just told me this a few days ago, is that we are now seeing officers come back to the city because of my policy around incentives. Outside of the box. And this is thinking outside of the box. Not only do we have to start a regional task force to get the murderers off the street.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tao. I'm going to move to Mr. Scott next, and then followed by Mr. Ryman.
Yes, thank you. It's kind of funny to hear people running on their record as the bodies pile up in the street. Officers aren't coming back for any reasons related to city council right now. They're coming back, if at all, because the police are reaching out desperately for help. If I hear reimagine one more time, again, as the bodies pile up, I may throw up in my mouth. Look, it's not mutually exclusive to have more officers and then focus on our communities. And to politicize either way is to our detriment. We need 900 officers. We need a state of emergency called in Oakland where we get county and state support. We have people traveling from around the country to Oakland to rob us blind. And you want to know why? When you pick up that phone for a 911 call, if you get someone to pick up, it's going to take upwards of 20 minutes for a priority one call. The only way you bring that down is to have more people able to respond to those calls quickly. The fact that sitting council people would say otherwise is so dangerous. People should be very cautious about that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryman, followed by Mr. Liu.
Well,
And Mr. Ryman, you need to lower your hand at some point. So, sorry.
I saw, oh yeah. Well, I'm not the vote for me and I'll set you free candidate. We have to recognize that violence and crime are integrally linked together and they flow from two things. First is poverty. And I am the only candidate that calls for a $28 an hour minimum wage, which is what you need to survive in Oakland. Second, we also have to recognize that we live in a very violent society, and that violence was enormously intensified by the MAGA Republicans, some of whom are candidates here tonight. And the only way to reverse that is to build a working class movement, build working class solidarity, such as what happened in the 1946 general strike when crime disappeared. We need democratically elected and publicly financed committees of public safety. The only alternative is what many other people call for, in effect, a cop on every corner. In other words, Fortress Oakland and Fortress America. We see that's the way that a lot of the world is going, and it's a complete disaster.
Thank you very much. Mr. Liu, followed by Ms. Victory.
We need concealed carry to the populace. So that's why I'm issuing concealed carry permits to people if I'm elected. And also we need security cameras at all intersections so we could track criminals while they go on a crime spree. And because we need guns on the populace, we have to form neighborhood watches that are armed so that they could counter terrorist activity happening in their neighborhood, and they could see it from their feeds, so that if they have a neighborhood criminal activity going on, they could be on alert to protect themselves. And this would include evacuation orders. If there's something that's happening in an area in Oakland and we need to get the people out, let's say if there's a bomb threat, then we just call up the militia, and they could facilitate the police in getting the people out of the area.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go to Ms. Victory, followed by Ms. Reed.
Thank you for the question. I want to acknowledge our youth, our schools that were affected by gun violence this week and through this weekend. This is a serious issue that's affecting every person, but public safety is not just about violence. Public safety will be in crisis when our public is in crisis, when our public does not have adequate access to housing. I want to provide housing for our unhoused. When we don't have adequate access to our parks and recreation or youth employment or education with our schools closing. So I'm endorsed by majority of our no cuts, no closure school board candidates, but I'm also the only attorney in this race who focuses right now on criminal justice and police practices, who trains our department on policy across the state, and who also advises our police commission, who advised our Reimagining Public Safety Task Force that already laid out a comprehensive vision of how to focus our police on doing their jobs better, on removing non-criminal tasks in response from them, on investing in alternative response and violence prevention. If gun violence is declared as a public health emergency, then where are the public health resources? Our police department is the highest funded, highest staffed. We need to expand that to have a holistic.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Reed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I am outraged with the unchecked lawlessness, the trauma and fear that's overwhelming our community and our schools as I just returned from King Estates Complex today and each day this week. I championed public safety day one. I proposed a cost-neutral budget amendment without delay to ensure that we had adequate police academies and resources without freezing critical resources. I authored and we passed a resolution that did declare gun violence a public health crisis in the city. And it also called on the county to make deeper investments with those historic investments that we made at the city level. As mayor, I will continue to prioritize public safety. I will budget for more academies to increase and build a pipeline of Oakland-grown police and increase support staff, criminal investigators, 911 officers, ceasefire fully established. I will establish an interagency task force to collaborate and invest in short and long-term strategies. I will expand macro citywide ASAP, 24/7. I will double our violence prevention, intervention, and healing and trauma care. I will work with our strong DA partner to address these issues. I will ensure that we have the technology and the tools that are needed to be responsive to our community and the demands that are before us to deliver public safety for all of us.
Thank you very much. And so we are now going to move to our second set of questions, and these will go to 3 candidates each, and I will just tell you who the 3 are. And the first question will go to Mr. Scott, Mr. Ryman, and Mr. Liu. And this question is, what is your position on city funding for the proposed Oakland A's stadium at Howard Terminal? So, Mr. Scott?
Hello, yes. So my position on city funding for the proposed Howard Terminal is that we need to be cautious about using any money that needs to be earmarked for public safety in order to get that deal done. And we need to not be pressured into spending more than we need to get that deal done. At the same time, we need to also make sure that we do everything we can to keep the A's in Oakland. Sports do matter. The safest year we had on Oakland in recent memory was 2018. We went an entire summer without a murder. We had A's jerseys, we had Dubs jerseys in the streets, and we were champions, and it mattered. Now we just won a championship, supposedly, but since it was across the bridge, I barely saw a bar full of people, and I saw precious few jerseys in our streets. So civic identity and pride does matter. So we need to do what we can to take leadership to keep the A's here, but not at the expense of our general fund, which needs to be prioritized right now for public safety.
Thank you. Mr. Ryman, followed by Mr. Liu.
I'm the only candidate who's making an issue of that multi-billion-dollar privatizing, job-killing, budget-busting boondoggle, the Howard Street Terminal. The A's stadium is just a small part of, it's about 1/12 of that entire project, which is going to be a financial millstone around the necks of the city of Oakland. Those who hide behind, oh, I call for community benefits, are really just perfuming a turd. There are no community benefits. And not only should Oakland not be financing that whole project, not with 1 red cent, we should stop it dead in its tracks. The owner of the A's, who is a massive gentrifier and a real estate developer, will become a major political force in Oakland, and he is also leading the charge for privatizing of public schools. So I'm the only one who's campaigned against it for years, and I think that it needs to be stopped. We cannot continue to be run by the real estate developers here in Oakland.
Thank you. Mr. Liu?
The Howard Terminal project is a no-go for me because it would decimate the Port of Oakland. That it's a very economic powerhouse that we need the port to be functional. If we have Howard Terminal, the public transit, and it will be so backed up that it's not, it'll make the port obsolete, and people couldn't drive there, trucks couldn't get through, and it'll be just a hassle. Like BART, people would be overflowed, and people could being pushed aside, down to the tracks. So it's going to be a hectic for traffic. So I don't think that is going to happen with that project. It's going nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, then we're going to move on to our next question. And this next question will go to Ms. Victory, Mr. Hodge, and Mr. De La Fuente. Health disparities that impact many children as well as adults in Oakland are driven by social and economic inequities rooted in systemic racism. How will you work to address the social determinants of health, such as housing, family support, and economic opportunity? So, Ms. Victory.
Thank you for the question. I have lived in all 7 city districts as a lifelong Oaklander. I've even been homeless in this city. And I have lived in some of our most toxic communities, ones where there's toxic tours that community groups give right in my neighborhood. And so I'm directly affected by this issue. I'm aware we've had so many studies documenting the effect of freeways, of pollutants, of some of our industries that are zoned right next to schools and to housing. We need to end that. I'm running on a red, black, and green New Deal that is climate policy with an equity lens, knowing that several of our communities have been harmed already, have already less life expectancy or higher risk of health issues over their lifetime. And we have to repair that harm, not just build for climate resilience and for healthier communities. I'm opposed to coal in Oakland. I am not accepting any money from the fossil fuel industry on this campaign. And I'm committed to investing in green industry, in green jobs, and again, in reparative policy, including making sure we have an equity plan that is intentional through our Department of Race and Equity. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hodge?
Yeah, thank you for the question. During the COVID pandemic, we helped organize an African-American response circle along with Resilient Fruitvale, Oakland AIP Unite, and Havens Court. And the point of that organizing was one, to bring attention to those social determinants of health. We realized very early on that the issues that we're facing Oaklanders in terms of housing, health issues were critical in the COVID pandemic. So what we did was we raised $1 million without a whole lot of city help, not any city help at all, without a county help. Those resources around universal basic income, which I think we should expand. We made sure that renters were protected as much as we could, small Black businesses and others. As we began to do this work, we went to the county and asked for demanded resources, which didn't occur, but it takes a countywide effort, a citywide effort to do any of this work around social determinants of health.
Thank you. Mr. De La Fuente. You need to unmute.
Thank you. My first priority again will be reestablish public safety in the city. I believe that all our small minority businesses and our minority communities suffer more about crime and about side issues, about all the issues that affect our communities more than other parts of the city and more affluent neighborhoods in our city. When I was in the city council in District 5, I made it a priority to make sure to build, the Fruitvale Transit Village, work with businesses, establish different approaches when it comes to access to not only to capital, but access to information. I believe that we have to realize that Oakland, being a multi-diverse city, it has some challenges that I believe we have to address. And I believe the city of Oakland has done actually a good job looking at the city as a whole and looking at the needs of our minority businesses. I will continue doing that, but more than anything, provide a safe environment for them and not raise taxes every year. Businesses can hardly make it. Now here we go with a progressive tax that I think is going to impact.
Thank you very much. And I'm going now to the candidates who have raised their hands. I'm going to remind candidates, if you wish to weigh in, you need to raise your hand, and you may do that up to 3 times during this forum. So, Mr. Ryman.
So again, any candidate who implies that they can solve this massive health crisis for people is either naive or is hoping that people that are listening are naive. We have to recognize that the health crisis that exists in Oakland and exists nationwide flows from two principal sources. The first is this whole crazy idea, well, it's not crazy if you're a multi-billionaire, this crazy idea that health care should be for profit rather than a service just like the fire department. So we need to get rid of healthcare for profit and establish a true national health plan. The second is we have to, is directly related to global warming, because as the sea levels rise, for instance, in West Oakland, it's going to push a whole lot of toxins under the soil up to the surface, and it will create a massive health crisis in West Oakland. And so what we need, once again, not anybody up to President Biden can solve the problem for you. We need.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
To resolve this problem.
Ms. Tao.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
I do believe that it's also environmental racism, and we see those impacts in East and West Oakland, majority of that impact, right? Because of the 80, and not just that, but because of many of the polluters that are in East Oakland and West Oakland. One of those companies is under investigation by the Attorney General for causing cancer in Oakland residents. And so this company has also been giving money to top candidates in this race. I will not take their money, and I'll stand up to polluters. I'll stand up to coal. And this is why I'm solely endorsed by Sierra Club and 350.org. They know I cannot be compromised, and we need that desperately here in Oakland. Health crisis is also about investments into our community. That's why I actively recently fought for $2 million at the state level, using my connections, my political connections, so that we can get those money directly invested into deep East Oakland parks. That's Tasafaranga, Arroyo Viejo, and Verdiz parks. These parks have been underinvested in, and I champion this so that we can get those.
Thank you very much. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. When we talk about the social determinants of health, that's something I've been focused on my entire career as a biomedical engineer, and then as a health innovation consultant. And so I have been, prior to coming onto the council 4 years ago, I've been focused on addressing health disparities in our community, serving as a board member for the West Oakland Health Council, also serving as a leadership advisory member for the Center for Youth Wellness, focusing on toxic stress and trauma that impacts our young people. But in coming onto the council, I've also been able to dig deeply into addressing those determinants. When you talk about housing, building more than 800 units of affordable housing into the pipeline in my district, where we didn't have those units previously. In economic opportunities, bringing more than $8 million to invest in local businesses through our ESO Ventures program, creating Liberation Park, a place where community can come together to gather and receive health resources. And I will continue to be a leader and a champion on addressing.
Thank you very much.
Mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Reed.
I serve a part of the city now that certainly has been impacted with incredible environmental injustice and the health crisis, the housing crisis. Every crisis that you can imagine is something that has weighed heavily on those that I serve now, and we know that that has impacted us citywide. When we talk about making deeper investments and bringing the county along to serve and support, it's about making sure that we invest and hold accountable those who are impacting us with the environmental injustice, working with the regulators, working to ensure that our initiatives with AB 617 are not just isolated in West Oakland, but they continue to build up around the corridor in East Oakland. It's making sure that we make those deeper investments into the root causes of the issues that have been long impacting our community across the city who've not been served, culturally responsive mental health services and providers, additional community clinics and providers to support holistic delivery of health services, rental support, down payment assistance, expanding Oakland resilient families, homeowner retention, access to life coach, expanding workforce development and business assistance resources. We've got to hold everyone accountable with the work that's needed to ensure that we bring forth environment.
Thank you very much.
Justice.
Mr. Scott.
Yes, I live in one of the most impacted neighborhoods of environmental and racism toward and classism, and that's the lower bottoms of West Oakland. In order to grow food here as a farmer, we've had to put in multiple feet of wood chips in order to put soil on top of it because of the high levels of toxicity in our soil. So how do we solve that? We have to build a parallel system. While our current systems are decaying, we have to focus on making sure that we have things that are positive in our communities, such as growing food and using community livestock. But more importantly, when you look at the hierarchy of needs, air, water, food, shelter, they're all compromised in our neighborhoods right now. And they're compromised because we don't speak for ourselves in this government. So we need to make sure that we're electing our neighbors, we're electing people who actually live in the communities who are impacted for government, so we can talk to the people who are members of our community.
Thank you very much. So this next question is going to go to Mr. Taylor, Mr. Jordan, if he's here, and Ms. Tao. What management or executive experience have you had that will inform how you hold the city administrator accountable to produce measurable outcomes and recruit for positions of city administrator and department heads? So, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you for the question. As a business leader who has advised and led his own company, advised other companies, this is directly in line with my background as an operations manager. Three things that I'll focus on that we lack and we struggle with in this city: human resources, contracting, and performance management. And so when it comes to human resources, it is unacceptable that we have 12 to 18 months delay from the time someone applies for a job and the time that they're extended an offer and able to come on board. We have to reimagine, reconstruct our human resources system. And that means we have to focus on recruitment, retention, overall quality of experience for our employees. When it comes to contracting, I have led previously procurement redesign to actually extract value from the contracting and procurement system. If we can take 15% off of how much we spend on contracts, procurement of goods, et cetera, like I've done in other situations, we will have so much more dollars that we can address towards public safety, homelessness.
Thank you very much.
Priorities. Thank you.
Ms. Tao.
Thank you so much for the question. I have 10 years of experience at City Hall. And what I can tell you about this beast called City Hall is that you can't come into a public government bureaucracy entity and treat it like it's a outside private business. It works and operates differently. And so because I have worked as a staffer from being community liaison to policy director to chief of staff, now council member, I am uniquely positioned to understand the intricacies and nuances and understand the issues that are creating that bottleneck so that we can actually tackle it. Because we need to have a mayor who's effective on day one and understands what these issues are so that we can make sure that we're being expeditious, but also effective with the minimal dollars that we have. Yes, we must fill the vacancies. And I have the full support of the city workers, SEIU 1021, IFPTE 21, and this is incredibly important because we need to earn the respect and trust of city workers so that they can do their great job that they're doing on our street, which is delivering services for our residents.
Thank you very much. And I don't see Mr. Jordan, so I'm going to move to Mr. Hodge.
Yeah, thank you for this question. Over a 40-year career, I've had the opportunity to lead a lot of organizations, crisis, and through challenge. As Oakland Thrive's first director, you know, it's a city-county partnership that involves the schools, the city, and other nonprofit organizations. Secondly, I was have been a nonprofit leader in many venues, the Brotherhood Elders Network being among them, and also as a school board member. Part of what is happening in the city government is that people don't find it attractive to work for the city. And so we need to really figure out, the same way we did with teachers and others, how to make working for Oakland more attractive than not. The 2.5% of procurements that goes to African-American owned businesses is unacceptable. We've been doing disparity studies since I can remember, probably going all the way back to Ellie Harris's administration. And it's time for us to actually implement on those challenges. 51% owned businesses for African-American.
Thank you very much. Ms. Reed.
Thank you. My leadership experience boils down to action, accountability, and results. I've worked for then California Assemblymember Nancy Skinner, now State Senator and Budget Chair, on policies and fundings that benefited Oakland, advocating for housing policies, gun violence prevention, job training programs, working to ensure that we knew how to manage that state budget and build bridges of collaboration to get results down into Oakland. Alameda County, I've served as the Alameda County Stop Waste Reduction and Recycling Board President, advancing environmental stewardship and managing multi-million dollars of our taxpayer dollars for those efforts. I've served on the Alameda County Joint One Table Committee. I work for Fortune 500 companies, and I've managed multi-million dollar revenue streams and billion-dollar industries, advancing sales growth and outcomes. I co-founded a small business when I became unemployed after working for Nancy Skinner. I've launched my own family and women-owned business that's still on Piedmont Avenue today. I've served on over a dozen organizations and boards, leading on strategies and solutions that deliver administratively, operationally, and effectively to accomplish goals.
Thank you very much. Ms. Victory.
Thank you for the question. I heard it to be, what is our management experience to be able to lead the city? I agree that the city is not a private corporation. It is literally a municipal corporation that is public, that is supposed to provide public services, that is subject to a lot of specific laws and regulations, not just by our city, but our state and federal. I have worked as a public interest attorney and in the public's interest my entire life. I've organized with the statewide African Black Coalition, helping build out its Community Service Programs Bureau in Deep East Oakland and helping draft Oakland's Black New Deal. I currently serve as counsel to Communication Workers of America Local 9415, which represents workers throughout California, Hawaii, and Guam, and helps represent the representatives of the union that represents our city workers. And to ensure that we are not running this like a private entity, we have to, again, have public control, public accessibility, and transparency. The last training I gave was to our police commission on the Public Records Act. I am an expert.
Thank you very much.
And will lead the city.
Thank you very much. This next question will go to Ms. Reed, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Ryman. What specific strategies would you use to increase engagement of Oakland residents and motivate community engagement throughout the city? So, Ms. Reed.
Well, that is exactly what I'm doing now. It's working to build trust within our community. There's an example of something that I am modeling in East Oakland that I believe should be a citywide initiative. It's what we call a day of action. We come together on 8 of the most impactful blocks in East Oakland, from 82nd Avenue to 90th, with city, county, department leaders, small businesses, community-based organizations, faith organizations, and we come together collectively to understand what the needs and the resources are to deliver for community members where they are. Our community members are not coming to City Hall. We've been closed, and yet the needs have been incredibly impactful. So we have gone out onto the streets, meeting them with food, with clothing, with housing solutions, with jobs, with workforce readiness opportunities, with free hot meals, with community health providers. We are working to deliver on the needs of our community in East Oakland, which can be modeled citywide. In 1 month, we had 5 of our unhoused neighbors show back up from 1 month to the next with keys to a home, with ongoing supportive services. That's what we need to do more.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott?
Yes, thank you for this question. Just a reminder, my name is Senator Scott. I'm #1 on the ballot, real easy to find for your ranked choice. And I love this question because it explains what I've been doing in Oakland for my past 10 years and why I'm running. I co-founded Bottoms Up Community Gardening, Ocala Festival, and I'm the founder of Neighbors Together Oakland. And our 4 pillars are community resilience, localized agricultural systems, accessible housing, and thriving local businesses. So it's in, I would say, the cornerstone of my campaign is bringing neighbors together, and anything and everything that we can do to do that is paramount. And one thing I will say is that it is not radical or revolutionary unless it's accessible to everyone. And there should be no good or bad neighborhoods in Oakland. It should be beautiful neighborhoods throughout. So that's one thing I'll be laser focused on, as someone said before, on making sure that we manifest in the city of Oakland.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ryman.
I came up in the 1960s during the days of the civil rights movement, which I participated in. And I saw thousands and tens of thousands of youth in New York City and in the South participating in a struggle to change society. That's what will bring people together and get them involved. And it's impossible, such a thing is impossible if we pretend that there is a harmony of interest between the corporations who are looting society and looting the workers every day and working class people ourselves. I participated in the Black Lives Matter movement here in Ferguson and around the country, and also in Occupy Oakland. We need a revival of that sort of movement. And also we need a revival of the unions to take back our unions, to make them fight for their members and for all working class people. That is what will build a sense of community and bring people together, the working class people, when we start to organize to fight for ourselves, for our own interests.
Thank you. Mr. Hodge.
Yeah, this is a great question. It's central to what we need to do to really engage the community. Over a 40-year career, I have been involved in a lot of work, from freedom schools to Oakland Fund for Children and Youth, to a range of organizational affiliations. One of the specific things that we can do is to move to hybrid meetings. When City Hall reopens, and I think it should reopen at some point, we ought to be able to go to democratizing the process in a way that creates both Zoom calls and in-person meetings. Those are the tools that we have now to really more fully engage our community, to get people involved in decision making. Many people who can't attend these meetings and have been able to do so by Zoom have been able to participate in a way that we've never seen before. So I think that we need to go to hybrid meetings as one small step toward re-democratizing our city.
Thank you very much. This next question will go to Mr. Liu, Ms. Victory, and Mr. Hodge. So what are your priorities for the first year that will guide the work of your administration as mayor? Mr. Liu.
I would like to teach the people starting from middle school to how to earn their own living. So they could make like $30,000 a month. So they could be multimillionaires. So they would learn how to set up proper businesses, how to market their services. And this way they would avoid the fate of being homeless. And so I see when you teach people to be rich the legal way, they certainly don't have to deprive the property or life of others. And this would bring the community together. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Ms. Victory.
Thank you for the question. I will be releasing a full first 100-day plan for her. This was in the first year, and I'll be inheriting an exhausted workforce. Again, we have high vacancies across all of our departments. I want to ensure that my administration is all united on what it will take for us to staff all of our vacancies, for us to even resource higher staffing to certain departments to accomplish the services that we need to get done in this city, and what the timeline is, and that we are very clear about setting up those metrics of success, that we're setting up what we are able to accomplish when we have fully staffed departments, so that the public can keep holding me as well as the staff and admin accountable. I want to have basic transparency in our first year that opens up our council meetings, that opens up our city hall and our city business. I want to implement things that our council has already legislated, that our mayor and our city administrator have not implemented from years, including removing special events permitting administrative tasks from our police department to the administrator's office. So implementing things that
thank you very
going
much.
to make us work more efficient.
Mr. Hodge.
All right. In the first 100 days, the key priorities will be reimagining public safety, and notwithstanding Seneca's idea about, the vomit in his mouth, that is necessary. We have to rethink what we do. Fully fund the Department of Violence Prevention at $50 million, budget for 700 police officers, and reestablishing an Office of Community Beautification for the city among the priorities. Number two, We have to handle our unhoused neighbors. It's immoral. It is unjust that people living in Wood Street encampment and other places around the city continue to live in squalor. We have to stop homelessness before it starts. We have to house extremely low-income people, and we're providing services for all of them. And then lastly, we have to heal what hurts through art and culture. Some of the efforts that our Black Cultural Zone is doing, Black Arts Districts, all of those are pieces of the puzzle that makes our city more vibrant and more livable.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ryman.
Again, I'm not the vote for me and I'll set you free candidate. And we cannot pretend that getting rich will solve Oakland's problems. We have to remember that we had a president who had a get rich quick scheme. It was called Trump University, and he had to end up shelling out millions of dollars for the fraud that he had perpetrated. So the idea that we can be saved by luring some people into some scheme that they themselves can become millionaires is a complete fraud, and it's corporate propaganda. We need to bring working class people and working class youth together to change society and for us all to have a decent standard of living, rather than these kind of get rich quick schemes, which are really just a scheme for the individual to get rich.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you. We've got a lot of challenges and we've got to hit the ground running, and that's what I am prepared to do. The first thing we have to do is acknowledge that it is reprehensible that when you drive from San Leandro into East Oakland or Alameda into downtown or Emeryville into West Oakland, you see a huge disparity with respect to how our city looks, the trash, the blight. So first of all, is going to be a massive cleanup of our city, not holding anything back, all hands on deck to change the way things look and feel across our city. Also, we have to commit to that and be consistent. I will ensure that we implement the encampment management policy to ensure the health, safety, dignity of those in encampments and around the encampments as well. As mentioned earlier, I will ensure that we push forward on really transforming and reimagining our human resources system and implementing a performance management system that ensures that the full transparency and accountability for every department. It's also critical for me that we establish a strong mayor summer jobs program, tripling the amount of young people who are served, giving them the economic opportunities to really transform their lives and build long-term careers right here in the city.
Thank you. So this next question is going to go to Mr. De La Fuente and Mr.
I actually raised my hand on this.
Oh, you, yes, but then you lowered it. So you want to try it? So okay, go ahead.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. From the first day to the 100th day, I'm concentrated in public safety. I'm concentrated on getting the city back into being a safe city. The reality is that, again, from the top, we have not set that tone. I believe that if we concentrate our resources, working with our different agencies, the fact that the Alameda County has the resources and they are responsible for homelessness in Alameda County, ask the mayor of the largest city in the county, I will make sure that not only the resources, but the attention of Alameda County for results, not just money, but the results, and working with our police department, I believe that we can bring the city back into a reasonable, safe environment. And I believe that will be from my first day to my 99, 100 day.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question will go to Mr. De La Fuente and Mr. Taylor. Multiple things have been tried to eliminate or mitigate the illegal dumping that blights Oakland. What would you propose that has not yet been tried, and how would you pay for your proposal? Mr. De La Fuente.
First, as mayor, I will send a tone the first day on the job that will be not tolerated in Oakland. I will direct all the different departments, especially the police department and the fire department, to start enforcing the rules, enforcing the laws that we have. Many of the fires that happen in Oakland is happening in homeless encampments. Many of the issues that they are facing, that the rest of the city is facing, is because we have not enforced any of the rules when it comes to protect our cities, protect our parks. We cannot allow people to take the public right-of-ways all of those issues, we gotta go back to enforce the rules of the game. That's the reason why people come to Oakland to dump trash and to do the things that they do, because Oakland has a reputation that everything goes. We not enforce the law. I think the city council has really their policies that they have enacted, like no chase policy. Many of the policies they have enacted is the reason why we're having the problems that we are having. So,
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott.
Hi, oh, I thought it was Mr. Taylor next, but sure.
You're right. I'm sorry, Mr. Scott. I forgot Mr. Taylor. I almost forgot you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you for
Oh, good.
correcting me.
I would have spoken up. Thank you, Senator. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with Ignacio on this point. We in Oakland have been lulled into a belief that to be compassionate means that we don't enforce the standard laws that we know exist in order to keep us safe and to ensure higher quality of life. I want my daughter to be able to catch the bus across town just like I did when I was a kid, going to the movies, hanging out with friends, coming back and not being worried about whether or not she'll make it home safely. We have to ensure that we are enforcing the laws that keep us safe, that keep our environment clean, and that build a quality of life that we expect and deserve right here in the city. When it comes to illegal dumping, we absolutely have to make sure that we are following up, bringing the resources necessary, not just to eradicate, but to enforce and educate. When I was a kid, we had Woodsy the Owl, give a hoot, don't pollute. We need to change the culture and the mindset in addition to holding folks accountable for these actions when they do come and dump in our town, coming from outside and disrespecting us here in the city of Oakland.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Scott, thank you for keeping me honest there.
No problem. So here's one thing we haven't done yet. It's the zero tolerance policy for illegal dumping. It's called you confiscate the vehicles and then we auction it off. Detroit did this 10 years ago to solve that problem and it ended it in months. I don't mean people throwing a Snickers wrapper out of their window. I mean people who come to the same spot who have monetized illegal dumping to the tune of hundreds of thousands in profit. And we have places that we clean up weekly that are dumped on. For 5 years now, we haven't caught a single person. So we need to use every available tool, license plate readers that our city council just chose not to use. We need cameras. We need to use multi-agency sting operation to make sure that we catch and send a very clear signal to illegal dumpers. They're not going to monetize our lack of enforcement in Oakland, which essentially is what they're doing. And I'll piggyback on a +1 to the last two. When compassion or the ideology of compassion leads to the state of affairs, it's contemptuous to our neighborhoods who are most impacted by the fallout.
Thank you very much. Ms. Victory?
Thank you for this question. Blight and dumping has been a problem almost my entire life. I live in high dumping areas, including on 88th, and right now I live by San Antonio Park. When I lived on 88th for 2 years, there were never any trash cans, any dumpsters, massive amounts of dumping. The only thing that ever got cleaned up was the banner saying we will prosecute you for illegal dumping. I want to improve our dumping situation by adding more public dumpsters, by adding more public trash cans. That is how we shift cultures, by allowing people to affirmatively do what we're asking them to do, instead of only hitting them with criminalization, with fees, with taking away vehicles. I've even seen churches, 2 different ones, that put out their old chairs, hundreds of them, just on the street. There's several of them sitting outside my house right now. I believe that our businesses, that our institutions, our nonprofits, our churches want to comply, want to clean up, but our city has tied our hands because our trash is controlled by a private company, Waste Management, not a Department of Sanitation like other cities have for public control.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Tao?
Thank you. Absolutely. I truly believe we need a full reset of the city of Oakland, and that's what I am going to do as your next mayor. We need to clean up Oakland's illegal dumping so that our city staff can actually do their preventative work. They need a base to start off with. I will meet with all directors and city administrators weekly to ensure that we are all connected and can solve any roadblocks together so that we can move forward more effectively. 3, fill in the vacancies. Again, I am honored to have the endorsement of city employees. And so therefore I will work with them to ensure that we have a more efficient way of hiring people into the city of Oakland and ensuring that the majority of people hired are Oaklanders. These are great paying jobs. In regards to, we need sting operations. Before, I've worked with Supervisor Nate Miley on sting operations. I do believe that people are coming out from outside of Oakland to dump in Oakland. If we can put up some sting operations, we'll send a strong message saying you can never dump in Oakland. Yes, cameras are needed, and it is more so used for evidence because we all know that license plates are usually not on the vehicles.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question will go, let's see, question 9, to Ms. Tao, Ms. Reed, and Mr. Scott. Oakland has adopted some optimistic climate change goals. What programs will you support to achieve Oakland's 2030 Equitable Climate Change Action Plan goals? And how will you involve the most impacted communities? Ms. Tao.
Thank you so much for this question. I, again, am proudly endorsed by Sierra Club and 350.org. I've introduced and passed legislation making wildfire prevention and climate change a top priority for the planning decisions in Oakland, no matter where you live. And so because of that, we've been able to expand vegetation management funding, tree services, and brought a new supervisor to Oakland to manage large projects and the ecosystems. And so we must be intentional if we're going to truly care about meeting our ECAP goals. And so that means putting in money. So I voted to invest millions into bike, pedestrian, and bus infrastructure and expand green mobility options, as well as work to save critical bike networks from being watered down. I also want funding for tree planting in East Oakland and West Oakland and habitat restoration. I want to work with community like in West Oakland to ensure that the recyclers are getting out of West Oakland. I am in strong partnership with Council Member 5, who's the council member of that district. And proudly, I signed the no fuel money pledge and refuse to take donations.
Thank you very much. Ms. Reed. You need to unmute.
Thank you. I certainly support where we're moving forward with our ECAP. It's a critical path for us to ensure that we've got the climate resilience, the environmental stewardship goals that have been adopted in that measure. And it's been a community-driven process that we need to make sure that we continue to build on to reach, our 100% emissions vehicles goals, to adopt certainly just the net energy metering goals, our pedestrian bike plans that we have going on. So it's an important measure. It's community and driven approach is what we need to continue to build on with all partners to ensure that it's fully implemented, that the outcomes progress with just a technological advancement for climate resilience. The total cost to that plan is over $72 million for 10 years, and we need to find the resources of revenue to cover the implementation of costs that's currently to propose. It's going to come from bonds, loans, grants, taxes. And so I just support how we need to ensure that those strategies have creative approaches to address and fund the plan without significant reliance on our general purpose fund and our taxpayers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott.
Yes, so this is what I talk about when I mean building parallel systems as our current systems are decaying. And it gives me the time to talk about my Department of Agriculture, which is revolutionary in any major city. So what we're going to do is take all available land, including tax-abated land that's plenty, and blighted lands and lots that are sitting vacant. And not only can we repurpose them for urban farms, you can combine housing for the unsheltered who want to work in self-contained community. And it seems asymmetrical, but that's how you approach a different way of living to bring down your emission. When you have a localized and decentralized and soil-based economy, what that means is that you're not shipping in food. People are walking around to get the things that they need from their neighborhood, not gardens and edible foliage, rather than getting in their vehicles and going to the store. That's how you start to recreate our lifestyle to chip away over the next generation at recreating a new way of life in Oakland that's edible, walkable, and bikeable. Thank you.
Thank you. That's our 3. So this next question will go to Mr. Ryman, Mr. Liu, and Ms. Victory. There are many revenue streams dedicated to housing and homeless services, including funds from city taxes, as well as county, state, and federal money. The current funding has not been effective in addressing the growing homeless population. What would you do that is not being done to address this critical issue? Mr. Ryman.
Well, first of all, we need massive restructuring of our taxes, starting with taxing the Port of Oakland, which is the only port, I believe, on the entire West Coast that is not taxed. We also have to remember that the entire tax structure in the state has become more and more regressive over the years. That is under both Democratic and Republican administrations alike. And we need a working class party to reverse that. We also have to remember, you talk about the federal government. Well, as I have continually pointed out, there's an enormous danger of the fascist connected Republican Party retaking power in 2024. In fact, it might start to happen in just a month from now. And so we need a program and a strategy in order to fight them. And the Democrats have proven that they cannot stop this. And so that's why I say we need a working class party and built around a working class movement, and we need socialism.
Thank you very much. Mr. Liu.
We're going to start selling concealed carry permits for $50 to statewide adults, and that would generate, I think, in tens of millions, because we have like about 25 million adults in California, and any one of them could come to Oakland to get a permit. Using that fund, we're going to build theme parks in sizable parks. Any sizable park in Oakland will be turned to unique theme park experience for people, and that would generate additional revenues when we have tourists coming in. I would expect that Oakland could do like 50 million tourists a year. You know, if a Louvre museum in Paris could draw 7.
Oops. Mr. Liu has frozen.
Frozen?
There,
it's frozen?
there, you're back.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Parks and Recreations, I plan to turn all sizable parks into unique theme parks to
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Victory?
do
Mr. Liu, I
7.5
think
million.
you're finished. You're done. Your time is up. So it's on to Ms. Victory.
Thank you for the question. I've again been homeless in this city with my family as a teenager. I do not want anyone else to be experiencing that, and I want our dollars that are designated for homelessness, for housing, to be going towards that. Our city auditor released a report a week ago saying that there are $70 million that are unaccounted for because our mayor and our city admin have not been transparent, have not held our service providers accountable, has not been transparent with the public, or even with the rest of council about what was the plan to administer these dollars. Our homelessness population has grown 24% during this pandemic. Our current policies, encampment management is not working. I want to fully enforce and implement our vacant parcel tax, our affordable housing impacts fees, and even increase them. But I also want to develop new funding mechanisms of public banking, which I advised our city on back in 2014 to help build its own affordable housing, as well as the city of San Francisco. I will implement that to expand our revenue streams for housing, but also ensure that I have the political will to actually use our current massive amount of funding to house people
Thank you very much.
in humane conditions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott, this will be your third question to weigh in on. So
I haven't heard our encampment management policy yet, which is apropos because it seems to have been memory hold by a current elected after they unanimously voted for it 2 years ago. I have an active lawsuit compelling the city to follow this policy. And I'm happy someone mentioned the nearly $70 million that was grifted away because of any lack of accountability in our city council that routinely gives favors to nonprofits that then in turn support them in ensuing elections. So we have a corruption problem, and we have an issue of what I call narcissistic compassion. And narcissistic compassion is dangerous because it leads to contempt for the people that they say they'll claim that they mean to serve. So we need a change in attitude. We need to have shelter first and housing earned for people with high levels of drug addiction and mental illness. And we need housing first for our fully 1/3 of our unsheltered people who are simply just poor and need the keys to an apartment. So a blanketed approach is disingenuous. And it's the reason why we got $70 million stolen from us. It's because people lied and used it to
Thank you
line
very
their
much,
pockets.
Mr. Scott. Thank you very much. This next question will go to Mr. Hodge, Mr. De La Fuente, and Mr. Taylor. The public perception is that the money the city spends on violence prevention is not working. How would you increase accountability and measure effectiveness of the programs?
This is a great question. I think that the formula for solving some of the issues around public safety is a three-part approach. One, we have to make sure that we fully invest in macro and those other programs. One of the things that I believe happened was that we were not true to the sort of fidelity of the program when it was established at the Department of Violence Prevention. One of the things that really worked in Richmond was hiring formerly incarcerated people who were from Richmond to actually work on those, work with those young people in community. That was the central piece to what was the Richmond Office of Neighborhood Safety. Oakland has not done that. We need to make it a jobs program in addition to hiring formerly incarcerated folks. The key thing about this program and all of the prevention dollars is that it has to be done in tandem with other things, with appropriate policing, as well as city beautification and blight.
Thank you. Mr. De La Fuente?
Thank you. Well, obviously, the violence prevention programs are not working. Obviously, the violence in Oakland have been increasing 20-fold. So I believe that the first thing that I will do is audit all of this violence prevention programs, audit a really oriented results audit to make sure that actually any of the programs or any of the resources that we allocating actually have any results. That's first. Secondly, I really believe that we got to work hand in hand. It's got to be enforcement. It's got to be working with individuals. But Oakland right now is in a crisis, and I think that somehow I don't feel that most people understand that we're really in a deep crisis. Only the people get affected. Only the people that lose their lives. And I think that we have to go back to the basics, and the basics is making sure that we audit the programs that are to see which ones are actually really working or not. But more than anything, again, a combination. We cannot just go in one direction, but we have to make sure.
Thank you very much. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, again, accountability, transparency, those are things that I am absolutely focused on and will make sure happens within our city. So yes, we have to measure the effectiveness of violence prevention programs. If we don't measure it, we're not going to be able to achieve the desired outcomes. I also 100% believe in this both and approach. We have to invest in prevention, crime deterrence, enforcement, and the follow-up investigations to make sure that we have an adequate solve rate so that folks don't feel as though they can come into our city and get away with really committing acts of violence against Oaklanders with no regard and no accountability. When it comes to violence prevention and how we measure results, we have to look at those who are more likely to be involved in impacted by the violence and how their lives are changed in the trajectory. We have the ceasefire program that has statistically been modeled to show effectiveness. We have to go back to what worked then and get rid of those things that have held us back from delivering similar results. Thank
you very much.
Has to be done for other violence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Victory.
Thank you.
This will be your third question. So
understood.
Yeah.
I'm the only attorney who focuses in police practices and criminal justice. I've already advised our city years ago on reimagining public safety without actually reducing the number of officers and protecting our workers' rights. I've advised our city council members on our minimum staffing law, Measure Z. I've also advised on how we can address the overspending that was unchecked, documented by our city auditor. year after year, that our police are spending millions in overtime that are on special events permitting. So again, our auditor has already weighed in on what these dollars are being spent on. We've already had 911 call audits showing what police are even responding to. We need action, implementation that will implement the studies, the documents, the recommendations that we've already received. I will listen to our Budget Advisory Commission about budgeting equitably between Department of Violence Prevention, Alternative Response, as well as our police department. The blueprints, the studies, and the data are already there. It takes a leader that's willing to implement it.
Thank you. Ms. Tao? This will be your third question too.
Understood. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
Yes, I am honored to have been the only council member who voted for violence prevention and violence interrupters, because understanding the budget is incredibly important. And what I did was I was able to actually be the council member to fund public safety most, instead of waffling around like other city leaders, which has undermined the effectiveness of this program. We all know that public perception is incredibly important, and we must work together because yes, we do need both. We need the response, but we also need the violence prevention and the violence interrupters, because we know that that actually saves lives. And if we know that, and I've been able to join the New York City's public official to actually be part of their programming, discussing how we save our young people's lives. And that shows that it is incredibly important to have year-round paid internships. And so under a Tao administration, I want to have year-round paid internship for all our young people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this next question is going to go to Ms. Tao and Ms. Reed. I will tell you that Ms. Reed, did you want to weigh in on this question, this last one?
I did. I want to be sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many questions we have remaining to know how many extra hands.
We have one more question and it's going to be put to you. So go ahead.
Okay, on this one, public safety has been a priority day one, and unfortunately, not all leaders of the city believed that that was the priority when we came into office and had the decisions to use the data that was available, to listen to our Budget Advisory Commission on the data that they also weighed in, to make sure that we were increasing resources and not decreasing. Those that we've heard from in our city have demanded more, not less resources in response to us. And so yes, we need to make sure that we have adequate plan that's funded and that's resourced with the staff that's needed to get the job done. That's making sure that we have at least 4 police academies budgeted, that we make sure that we have the criminal investigators to address the 1,000 unsolved crimes. People deserve justice and response from our department, with us tracking, with us monitoring, and ensuring that there's a case management system in place that is not manual. It's making sure that we've got adequate beat officers, foot patrol, burglary suppression units, and business corridors, and community safety ambassadors. It's making sure that ceasefire is fully staffed and serving to intervene and disrupt the rise in shootings and violent crime.
Thank you very much.
And 911 dispatch.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to say that we heard from Mr. Jordan, and he is stuck at work. So I'm moving things around because we're missing a candidate here. This next question will go to Ms. Tao and Ms. Reed. The Redistricting Commission here in Oakland has not completed a report on the first citizen-led redistricting effort in 2021-22. What problems and difficulties did you observe, and what changes to the existing legislation do you think will be needed before the next census cycle? Without a report from the commission, how would you propose to evaluate the process? So Ms. Tao.
Thank you for the question. I do believe that there are a lot of growing pains in regards to redistricting. We saw that with the recommendation that elected officials stay out of trying to put input or impede upon this process, that certain council members did actually reach out to those who were on the commission to actually give them their feedback and input, which I felt like we need to actually ensure that that is done in a better way in the future, nature where elected officials are not heavily involved, and so that it is a neutral process. More so than that, some of the difficulties is around understanding and the training process. And so we need to make sure that we, one, advertise it so that people do know that this is a possibility, they could be part of it. And so we need to invest, the city needs to invest in money and resources to ensure that it is advertised equally across the whole city in different newspapers in different languages. More so than that, the training process of it, making sure that each of the commissioners understands their job and that understands the timeline as well. And so I do see my time is up, but there are a lot of growing pains that we must address.
Thank you, Wen, very much. Ms. Reed.
The redistricting process was a frustrating process for many. I believe that we have an opportunity as we move forward to ensure that there's adequate time for education, for outreach, for training, for engagement. And as we are coming into this election, people are still not aware of where those lines are drawn. And so in this last budget, I requested a significant amount. I want to say, I don't quote me, maybe $400,000 or $500,000. It was a significant amount of budget for us to invest in making sure we proactively communicate with our neighbors who are still asking where are the lines drawn and when will it take effect. I believe that we were only able to secure $40,000 or less than $50,000 in that effort. If we are serious about community engagement and involvement in the civic process, we have got to put our money into those processes and ensure that we've got staff that's available to be responsive for those who are seeking answers and who want to engage to participate in that process. It was a rush process in the end, even with the attempts that were made to engage, like our office holding town halls. We held 4 town halls.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. So I definitely wanted to weigh in on the redistricting process. I think that the way that we have moved in terms of engaging a broader set of stakeholders has really proven valuable for engaging community members in the process. The number of folks that have been involved in the calls, et cetera, were great. There are a number of challenges that I've seen, and I think others. I look forward to getting the full report from the commission. In order to act on the report that comes from the commission, we're going to need to have folks on the council who are willing to make tough decisions. Making tough decisions is critical for the next mayor, and that's something that I have consistently done when it comes to saying no to coal against special interests, corporate interests who have been trying to prioritize profits over the health of Oakland residents, saying no to defunding the police against those who are coming from the outside trying to prove ideology that doesn't actually keep us safer here in Oakland, and saying no to those who are trying to push a business tax proposal without much validation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hodge. You need to unmute, please.
I agree with my colleagues that there were a lot of growing pains in the process, and I think I sat in several of those meetings as it was taking place. I mean, one, it would be really good to have better facilitation, because part of the challenge in all of those sessions that the facility just waiting opinion about. Part of it was on all of these commissions, make sure that we really understand the process. And then lastly, there was a proposal that caught the most attention, which had its pros and cons. It fleshed out a little bit better to ensure that we understood what the impacts would be. And so I think, and also District 6 and District 7 sit on the college. There were a lot of issues around that. So all in all, I mean, I think that it was a good start. We shouldn't beat ourselves up too much about how it didn't work out, but we should definitely look at the full report and get a sense of where we are.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm looking at the time, and I'm going to allow Ms. Reed to answer the first question. She had technical issues, and then we're going to have one more question for everybody, and then closing statements. So Ms. Reed, the very first question that I'll read to you again so you can know, is that people are distrustful of government at all levels. What would you do to restore trust and faith in public officials and in the power of city government to deliver services and improve quality of life?
Thank you, Helen. We all know that Oakland is on the wrong track, and Oakland wants a mayor who's going to talk less, who's going to show up and deliver more, who's going to lead and not manage us through the challenges with solutions and not excuses. That's who I am. I am a leader who shows up in the community for all of us. I've not forgotten about community. I've kept them at the table, and I'll continue to do so. And so if elected, there are several steps to take to restore that faith and engage voters. We can publish an Oakland City Finances scorecard and dashboard and update it monthly, sending it to all Oaklanders in multi-languages so that people know what's taking place with our budget. Driving for an equitable budget is priority for me, and not hiding where we are with our finances. Second, it's doing that 100-day Love Our Town tour, every neighborhood in Oakland at each stop, focusing on the 3 things that are priorities in that area: town hall, voter registration, street cleanups, engagement on the issues that are most important to them. And third, reviewing the function of just every department. What's the city doing? How is the city getting it done? How are we tracking and monitoring, establish and set annual goals, making sure that the policies and funding required.
Thank you very much.
Those goals with metrics to measure our progress.
Okay, so now I'm going to do one last question to everybody, and I'm going to mix up the order a little bit. I'm going to start with Mr. Hodge and then go to Ms. Victory. So this question is, if you are not elected, what would you do to try to help work on ideas or issues that are important to you?
If we're not elected, well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'll essentially continue to work in the way I've always done, with a center on hope and healing. Our city is hurting right now. We need to do a lot in terms of homelessness, public safety, affordable housing, blight, and all of those issues require a steady leader, even outside of public office, who can actually make a difference. We've made a difference in our communities in a lot of different ways, with a lot of different work with Freedom Schools and Eli Omode School and a lot of education stuff. And I'm surprised that the education question didn't actually come up. The city is hurting. The city needs healing. The city needs a leader who has a center point for that kind of healing. And I think that that's the way I would occupy my time, in addition to taking a really good vacation.
Thank you. Ms. Victory, followed by Mr. Liu.
Thank you for this question. If I am not elected, I would hold our next mayor accountable. I would offer to partner with them and work with them if they're willing to implement some of the same things that I am running on, but I would remain committed to being a public servant, as I have been, as I've done my entire life, raised and living in this city. I'll continue to be a civil rights attorney, advising our city, our county, as well as 48 out of 58 counties on public safety systems and constitutional policing. I'll continue to be a union counsel and a union member, working to get our first contract at my current workplace. I'll continue to be elected to our Democratic Party for this assembly district as a delegate, where I've been registering voters, helping to expand our democracy, and even defending our democracy, since our city illegally disqualified me from this ballot for 2 weeks. And so I will continue serving, and I will continue to hold our elected officials accountable to justice.
Thank you. Mr. Liu, followed by Mr. Ryman.
Yeah, I'm going to go on retirement mode and just play with my kids. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ryman, followed by Mr. Scott.
Well, I would flip the question around and say, what would I do differently if I am elected? And my answer is, I wouldn't do anything differently from what I am doing and from what I've done all my adult life. And what I've done all my adult life, and in fact, from down to my teenage years, when I was active in the civil rights movement, is help working class youth and workers organize to fight for themselves. And that would be the purpose of being a mayor, is to use that position to do exactly that. And included in that, or in that organizing, is helping people to have a more deep understanding of the true nature of the problems that we are confronting, and an understanding that our problems are not just here in Oakland, they're not just here in the United States, they are international problems, and they stem from the disastrous degeneration of our system itself, which we have to name that system. It's capitalism.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Scott, followed by Ms. Reed.
Thank you, everyone. Once again, I'm Senator Scott, #1 on the ballot, really easy to find. I always like to say that leadership is action, not position. And with that, if I'm not elected, then I'll continue the action as a leader that I've been doing since I've been in Oakland. And that's bringing neighbors together to be more resilient and more prepared for the days to come. It's very important to me that Oakland thrives in the midst of chaos. And right now we're on the wrong road. We're on the wrong trajectory. So if I'm not elected, I will work with whoever wins to do what I can to help the city. If they want to hire me for a good job, I may consider it. So you guys need to hear that, right? And yeah, I'm here to serve. I've been a public servant. My actions have always matched my ambition to improve our neighborhoods, all the way back to my days at Cornell University studying union organizing, up to doing soil-based organizing and urban farming in West
Thank
Oakland.
you. Thank you very much. Ms. Reed, followed by Ms. Tao.
I will continue to lead with integrity on the ground, doing the work in the community to build bridges that unify, that collaborate, and allow us to get things done with a strategy of love, uplifting my values of love in action and our city motto of love life. It's what I was born and raised to do. I'm one of the oldest born grandchildren of just my father's siblings of 130 plus cousins. I was raised to make a way out of no way and ensure that everyone had the basics in life and the ability to access opportunities. I lead from a deep well of having lived the issues and the challenges we face today in the city. I fight for those who are enduring, like my family, the deep trauma of losing our loved ones as I lost our son, Brandon, to gun violence. I fight for those who are facing the threat of homelessness with housing instability, like I lived and grew up living 20 to 30 deep or having my own $60 a month deeply affordable home. I fight for those who are seeking food insecurity, those who are facing unemployment, domestic abuse like I have, mental health issues, business doors closing and working multiple jobs to provide for their household, prioritizing people over politics and politricks that have not served us well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tao, followed by Mr. Taylor.
Thank you so much. I will continue to be service to the public. That's what I love to do. It's who I am. And so as a daughter of refugees, I want to create an Oakland. My North Star is creating an Oakland where little Shane and my mom, when we would go out every night during sunset to go collect cans, if we can make it safe for that kind of family who needs to go out and collect cans so they can get food on the table, then we are all better because of that. And so that is my North Star, and it will continue to be my North Star. Win or lose this race, I am still going to be activated in the community to ensure that we get to that point so that all families can have the quality of life that we also deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, followed by Mr. De La Fuente.
Thank you. As a kid from Oakland, it has always been my focus on how we can uplift and amplify the potential and the futures, the trajectory of all of my neighbors here in Oakland. I've worn two hats. One, my professional career as an engineer, a professional operations, an operations professional, and an entrepreneur. But the other hat has been involved in the community, giving back, helping to lead organizations, establish nonprofits, mentor young people, create systems that scale the impact on the community. And so if I were not to become the next mayor, I would continue expanding my impact in the community. First, focusing on how we create platforms and tables to bridge us, all of us, bring us together across those things that divide us, from east to west, from young to old, different demographics, so that we can really wrestle with the tough challenges and move forward collectively together as an Oakland, because only together will we thrive and achieve our fullest potential.
Thank you. Mr. De La Fuente.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. I have lived in Oakland for 51 years of my life by choice, and I served in the city council. I had the privilege to serve for 21 years, as most people know. I continue being involved. I think that I care about the city deeply. That's the reason why I'm coming back and running, because I believe that at this time the city needs somebody with experience and the political will to concentrate, not on everything. And I understand that the laundry list of what candidates think that they can do when they get in office, but I can tell you that I'm going to concentrate on the basics of making sure that people are safe. This city has given me a lot. I want to give back by creating an environment that is that we can retain businesses, that we can attract businesses, that we can have a Oakland than what it used to be. When I first came to Oakland, came to 933 Wood Street in West Oakland, and 7th Street was one of the most vibrant areas of the city back then. What we allowed things to happen in Oakland is deteriorated to the point that it is now. That's one of the reasons that I believe.
Thank you
that
very
I'm back
much.
running.
Thank you. So now it is time for closing statements, and I'm going to use the order that I had originally put up on my piece of paper, and we're going to start with closing statements with Ms. Tao and then go to Mr. Taylor.
Well, thank you for having us tonight, and to all the candidates running. I've stayed true. I haven't waffled on my commitment to public safety. I've been committed to funding police and prevention. Others on the council were not consistent and didn't make the investments in public safety that were so needed. I will bring new energy, new ideas, new talent to the mayor's office. We need a deep break with the status quo, a fundamental new way of doing business in the mayor's office, more transparency, accountability, engagement. We need results, not only a vision, but a leader to effectively implement and know how to pay for the vision. I, as Council President Pro Tem, I have that track record, both delivering results and being effective. I do have the endorsements of the majority of the council members. This is indicative of my collaborative leadership, and is important because we know how important it is to have the mayor and council members work cohesively together. I am uniquely positioned to bring the entire city together for the first time in nearly a decade. I've been able to work at the state level and federal level to go out and bring in more resources, and proudly supported by Planned Parenthood, the Democratic Party.
Thank you very much.
And city workers.
Thank you. So Mr. Taylor, followed by Mr. De La Fuente.
Thank you. Again, I'm Lauren Taylor, running for mayor because it's high time that we deliver on the promises of our beloved city. I love Oakland and believe in Oakland, and I'm unwilling to give up on Oakland, but something has to give. We need the right leadership who has experience in City Hall, delivering real results like I have, who's been solving tough, complex problems outside of City Hall, and who isn't scared to make the tough decisions. Like when I stood against my colleagues on the council to advocate for both historic investments in violence prevention and police academies. While I'm grateful that some flip-flop to then support those academies, it's not enough. You've got to be able to be courageous and make those tough decisions at the time that they're needed. It's okay to be angry, and I am angry as hell, but we also have to channel our anger into unity, our unity into community, and from that community, we can find hope again. Political leaders have but a moment to leave their mark, and this campaign is not about me, it's about we. If you want a city hall that finally hears you, that actually listens to you, and that actually responds to you, then I need your vote to deliver.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. De La Fuente, followed by Mr. Hodge.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity. Again, I had the privilege of serving in the city council for over 20 years. I believe that I have a record. I believe that voters of Oakland should really look at the candidates that are running, so all of us can take credit for what they do, and people know exactly what, if we have done anything, or we just are wishy-washy and say one thing one day and then the next. And to me, I think that's one of the challenges. That's one of the reasons why I believe that I will be the best mayor of Oakland this time, because I have no other goals in life except one more run to make sure that I can give Oakland not only the leadership that they deserve, but making the decisions that are necessary in the best interest of the majority of the citizens in Oakland. Not the special interest, not the groups, but the majority of the citizens of Oakland, the people that pay the taxes. I'm opposed to the progressive tax because I believe that it's a job killer. I believe that it will impede our ability to attract businesses or retain businesses. And for that reason, I believe that we have to be more innovative. Raising taxes should not be the only answer to the problem.
Thank you very much.
Managing our resources.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. De La Fuente. Mr. Hodge, followed by Ms. Victory.
Yeah. It's been an honor to be here with you all tonight to talk to Oaklanders about the future of Oakland. Leadership is the capacity to respond to the situation of the moment. And Dorothy Height said that years ago, and I still believe it to be true. We have to move from political transactions to systems transformation. All of what we're talking about tonight matters. If you're happy with the way city government is running, you should not elect me. You should elect somebody else to continue in the same ways we've done. If you keep doing the same things, you keep getting the same results. Over a 40-year career, I've had an opportunity to work in a lot of organizations all over the city, and I would love to and would be honored to serve as the next mayor of Oakland. I'm a consensus builder, a policy.
I don't see the
I
timer.
don't see the clock. Yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
think you've got maybe 10 seconds left. So I'm
All
guessing from my instincts.
right.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's a good instinct, Helen. I thank you for the good job you've done tonight. Lastly, I would say that hope is being able to see the light in spite of the darkness. And I hope that Oaklanders find light in this next election.
Thank you. Ms. Victory, followed by Mr. Liu.
Shall we wait for the timer?
Yep, there you go. Perfect.
Right. Thank you again for hosting not just this, but a series of forums to educate our voters. We're not going to just have a new mayor, but we've already elected a new sheriff. We will elect a new DA, new council members, and three new school board members. Our entire city is going to have new leadership, and I am going to be a part of it. I'm not from our past leadership or our current, because I'm running on change. I'm running on housing our homeless. I'm running on providing trash and sanitation service to clean up our trash and dumping problem. I'm running on high quality public services. I am number 7 on your ballot as Elisa Victory Villanueva. My website is victoryforoakland.com, FOR, victoryforoakland.com. You can learn more about my background, my endorsements, my policy, and again, we'll be releasing a full 100-day plan. Oakland has been resilient with residents taking care of one another through this crisis, but they need a mayor that is resilient as well, and that's going to make it easier to remain housed here, for our workers to own their communities, for our youth to thrive. Thank you.
Mr. Liu, followed by Mr. Ryman.
This whole COVID-19 pandemic is fake. A lot of businesses were closed because of it. And I think it's been a hoax since the beginning, as a lot of politicians take off their masks when not viewed by cameras. So I think this has done a heavy devastation on the economy just in Oakland. And there shouldn't have been any closures of businesses, and there shouldn't be any requirements for vaccine passports and all that junk. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ryman, followed by Mr. Scott.
First of all, I oppose trickle-down economics at the national or the municipal level. I urge voters to check out the candidate's record and current position on the gentrifying Howard Street Terminal project, keeping in mind that community benefits is just perfuming a turd. We need a program and strategy to reverse global warming at the national level. We also need a program and strategy to prevent the fascist Republican Party from regaining power in 2024. Those threats do not simply exist thousands of miles away. We have 2 candidates here, one of whom is the MAGAist, anti-Semite, and a racist. He won't talk about it openly, but his emails say it. We have another candidate for whom the coal trains have kicked in $100,000. Voters have a right to know that the first candidate is Peter Liu, and the second is...
Excuse me, we don't talk about other candidates that way, please.
I am the only candidate.
Oh. Thank you. Mr. Scott, followed by Ms. Reed.
Good evening again, and thank you for the invitation. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I've never quite understood that statement until after the pandemic, when I watched seemingly intelligent people triple and quintuple down and quadruple down on failed policy with good intentions and crafty sound bites. And despite that they're not working, rather to be honest and say, you know what, we tried, things are hard, do you have any better ideas? What they do is they memory hold their failures and they gaslight voters to try to re-vote for them and re-elect them for positions, reward them with promotions for failing us. City Hall remains closed. It's closed. People are dying in the streets. There's no sense of urgency to return normalcy or prosperity to our city. People are concerned about themselves. People are concerned about the people who financially back them. It's time for special interests to take a back seat to the neighbors and businesses who need to run Oakland. We deserve better.
Thank you very much. Ms. Reed?
I've been on city council since last year, and it's long enough to see what's not working for all of us, but it's short enough not to lose my hunger for change and see our city function for us all to remain rooted and thrive. And that change does demand contagious hope in action and courageous leadership to influence the decisions that are impacting our lives, delivering an equitable multi-billion-dollar budget, executing timely delivery of critical city services, hiring and leading an administrative staff that shows up for all of us. Integrity, honesty, and transparency matters in leading that change to get the action, the accountability, and results that will meet community where they are, keeping us safe and protected, keeping our businesses open and our families working in Oakland, keeping our community housed permanently, schools open, keeping us clean and beautiful. Oaklanders deserve action. Hold me accountable. I know that we will get Oakland back on track together. And I encourage you to stay connected with our campaign at readforoakland.com. Thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates. Being in the public eye and being part of this kind of work is demanding, so the rest of us appreciate your willingness to serve. And thank you to the participants for your interest in making educated choices. Please visit the website at lwvoakland.org for information about regular and expanded services during this election season. Tonight's recorded program will be on our website in 4 languages and available on a whole variety of platforms, including YouTube tomorrow and KTOP. Ballots will be mailed to all voters starting October 10th. The registration and voting links are also on the lwvoakland.org website. When you get ready to complete your ballot, remember to check votersedge.org, which will give you all the background information about your ballot, candidates and ballot measures for your individual ballot. It's a great project of the League of Women Voters in collaboration with the tech people at MapLight. A final reminder, the League of Women Voters does the hands-on work of defending democracy year-round. We hope you'll join us. This ends our program, and thank you to all the co-sponsors and to all our voters. Good night.
Good night.